Hello friends, today I'm going to show you the complete .NET Web API roadmap from beginner to expert level in 7 levels. Every level will have concepts inside it. If you are new to Web API, then follow this roadmap to learn Web API. If you already know Web API, then use this roadmap to find the gaps in your knowledge. And if you are preparing for interviews, then in this roadmap, I will also pinpoint the concepts which are very important from interview point of view. Okay. For each concept, I will also share a very high level idea of that concept. Okay. Now, as an activity, you have to note down the topics which you don't know or you don't understand, so that by the end of this video, you will be knowing what more things you have to learn in your Web API journey. So let's start with the very first level 1. Okay, level 1 is first API. First API means the minimum knowledge which is required to create your first very basic Web API project or application. For that, first understand what is Web API, right? What is it? What it is? A Web API is a way for applications to communicate with each other over the internet. Okay, over the internet. Then it allows you to send and receive data using HTTP, right? Then understand how Web APIs are RESTful services and what are the REST guidelines for creating the Web APIs. Next, you have to learn the HTTP methods, which basically defines the type of action you want to perform. For example, this get is used to fetch data, right? Post is used to create new data. Put is used to update data, and patch is used to delete is used to remove data, and then patch is used to make partial updates. Okay, something like that. Again, if you have any doubt or confusion in anything, then note it down and learn it later. Okay, that is the actual purpose of the roadmap. After this, understand the response code in Web API. Important codes like 200 means success, 201 means new resource created, 400 means bad request, 500 means that is a internal server error. Okay, so very basic. We are talking about very basic things. Now, to build your first Web API, you will work with controllers. Okay, so now you will create your first API. So for that, you have to know MVC controllers, which handles the logic for your endpoints. Two main kinds of controllers are there: controller and controller base. Most API use the controller base, so you have to understand the difference. Here, adding this API controller attribute basically simplifies your API development. This also you should explore. Next is you have to understand the concept of routing. Here, you should learn attribute routing concepts. Very important. What are route parameters? What are query string? Okay, so that you have to explore. Route parameters, both are used to basically pass data in URLs, and you have to explore. Okay, I'm not going to be too much in detail, just a very high level. After this, we have the action results in Web API, which is like returning okay, not found, bad request created. Basically, you are returning some meaningful responses from your controllers. Okay, finally, master the model binding, which basically maps the incoming data to your project models. Okay, here you can use the from body, from query, because from where the data is coming from: body of the request, from query, from root where. Okay, alright, so that is Web API level 1, and with this information you can create a simple basic Web API with a single controller, single endpoint, and you can return some data. Okay, here from interview point of view, HTTP methods and routing related questions are often asked in interviews. Now let's go to the level 2 of the Web API, and that is the intermediate level. Again, my friend, if you don't understand any concept, then no worries, it's completely fine. Just you have to write down those concepts, okay, note down. That is the purpose of the roadmap, to make you aware about the concepts. Knowing them in future is a different thing, okay? Just the awareness is the purpose. So let's now explore the intermediate API development level 2 of web API. Intermediate means in a real project, what are all the things you need in a web API in a real project, not a dummy project, okay? Here start with data transfer, because data is what your API user will, client will send, will get and post, right? For data, learn the request and response model, or DTOs, which are used to transfer data between the client and the server. Then here you can use the auto mapper, slightly advanced, to mapping between the incoming data and your entities and DTOs efficiently. Okay, very efficient technique and very frequently used nowadays, this auto mapper. Next, focus on validation. Validation technique like data annotation, it is basic, like these are required range, string length, which ensures that incoming data is valid, okay? Then there are advanced validation scenarios for which you can explore fluent validation, but it is optional. Next, very even more than your life important part of this is dependency injection. And yes, DI is essential for clean and testable code in web API with .NET Core. It is actually a part of .NET Core. So here you have to learn how to register services in DI container and inject them into your controller in .NET Core. Okay, you have to learn this. Then next is working with files. Learn how to do file uploads and then returning files like PDF, images from your API, how to do all this. And yes, don't forget to do the file validation also, like the validating file type, size, extension, etc., and correctness of the files. Okay, so this is level 2 of web API roadmap. Here, from interview point of view, data validation and dependency injection are very important. Next, let's move to level 3, and that is securing our APIs after creating. We created the API, now we will secure it. Before moving on, as I always say, knowledge and learning is one thing, but if you need higher salary or packages or CTC, then courage is more important than learning or knowledge. Candidates who have courage, they keep giving interviews, and even they have less knowledge, still they get better salary hikes. If you understand this point and getting ready for interviews, then write never give up in the comment section. Have courage and never give up until you get the best offer. Great. So now let's continue to our roadmap, which is we will talk about securing the APIs, because security is critical in web APIs. Otherwise, anyone can hack, pass data to your web API and can hack it, right? So here start with authentication, which ensures only authorized users can access your API. First thing. Here you can start with basic authentication, then JWT authentication, and yes, this JWT, very JSON web tokens, very important authentication, very frequently used also. Then you can also use some advanced like OAuth, OpenID Connect, which are used for integrating the third-party logins. Okay. Next is authorization. Here, role-based authorization lets you control access based on the user roles, while policy-based authorization provides more flexibility with custom roles. So you have to understand this at least at high level, that what are these. Again, I'm not going very deep here, just I'm telling you that these are the concepts. Go and learn. I am giving only high level idea. Okay, then you can learn codes to secure your API further, and inside that you have to learn how to configure codes policy to control basically which domains or website can access your web API. Okay, then for security data, you can also learn how to encrypt sensitive data using HTTPS for secure connections. Great. So this is all about securing APIs. Here the last one is optional, but the first three are must to know. Okay. And from interview perspective, JWT authentication and this course. JWT is extremely important. Please learn it. What is the process? Now let's go to the next level 4, which is database integration. Database integration means concepts required for connecting and accessing data from database to your web API. Okay. Here we have two main concepts. First is entity framework core, EF core, or you can also use ADO.NET to handle data operation. Okay. Learn how to set up EF core in your project and perform CRUD operations. Okay, CRUD operation like create, read, update and delete. Next step is understand database relationships like one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many. This is next step. Then learn link queue queries like how to filter the data, how to order it, grouping and projections, how to perform operations on data. Okay. Next, if you are working on complex database operations, then learn how to call and use the stored procedures from your API. That's it. Now from here, from interview perspective, calling the same thing I already explained. Interview perspective, CRUD operations and link queue queries are important. Okay, so that is level 4. And now is the turn of some advanced features of web API. Basically how to create a good web API by using the above 4 levels. Okay. So, but now we will basically until level 4, it is like how to create a good web API. From level 5, how to create an advanced web API. All right. But before that, here is a small notification. If you want to cover all the main and top .NET topics in questions and answers format, then you can try my top 500 .NET interview questions course. This course link is present in the description and the PDF book link is also present. So like this candidate, if you want to crack interview via my course and if you don't want to miss anything for your interview, then you can try this course. Otherwise, no problem. Let's continue. All right, so now we have the web API level 5, basically meaning the advanced features. First part is error handling. A very popular technique for error handling is global exception handling middleware. Okay, that is used in you have to create a middleware, error middleware. Okay, this is nowadays very much popular. Second, you have custom error responses so that you can provide the meaningful responses to the users with custom error message. Okay, basically you do not respond with the actual error code related errors, right? Code related error. Therefore, you have to send the customized error responses. Next, logging is another key feature. Learn how to configure and set up logging in your project. Optionally for that, you can use these tools also, CD log, nlog or application insights. That's up to you. Okay, that's a way to do logging. Next, performance optimization. Again, very important. Here we can do something for caching. And in caching, we can try response caching middleware for temporary storage of API responses. Second, explore in-memory and distributed caching for larger systems or APIs. Third, we can do paging and compression. Basically, pagination is to efficiently handle large data sets and return data in chunks, pages. Okay, that is pagination. Compression is to reduce the HTTP responses size and improve the load performance, improve the load time. Okay. Finally, learn profiling your API using tools, mini profiler, application insights. That is optional basically based on your project. So all these performance optimization steps are important from interview point of view for a slightly senior candidate. That is level 5, and I hope you are noting down which parts you don't know, which concepts you don't understand. Now here is next level, and that is deployment and hosting of the web API. Okay, here, because if your API is ready, then you have to deploy it, right? So here first we will talk about the hosting the API, how to host. For that, either you can host the API on IS or you can use the Kestrel also. For beginner this is good, but if you are already working on API, then you can go for, apart from hosting APIs, you can go for cloud deployment. Okay, here Azure App Services, AWS or Google is used. Google Cloud is used for cloud deployment of your web API. Next, containerization with Docker can be used to run your API inside the isolated containers. It's a very good approach. Okay, now very popular. Now after that, to streamline your streamline means you can set the CI/CD pipelines for like different environments. You can set the pipelines. Basically, these pipelines will automate the building, testing and deployment. You do not have to go to dev server, staging server, UAT server like this. That can be automatically done by this pipelines. Okay. Finally, so I have also written the name of the way Azure DevOps you can use for pipelines. Finally, we have the monitoring APIs like tools, application insights or Elastic Stack tools. Great. From interview perspective, Kestrel, understanding Kestrel is important. It can be asked in the interviews. And then Docker is important for senior candidates. Okay. Next and the last level is for level 7, slightly senior level. Here is level 7, expert microservices and real-time APIs. At the expert level, first dive into building microservices architecture, which is very much in demand right now. Here first learn how to design APIs, okay, as small independent services. Then learn how microservices can communicate with each other using REST or gRPC. Next, real-time APIs building you can learn, meaning applications where real-time messaging like the chat applications can be created. Here you can use the Signal R to send instant updates to clients, okay, such as notifications or something. Then also WebSocket also you can learn for low latency fast application. Next topic is API gateways. An API gateway is a server that acts as an intermediate between client and your multiple web APIs. Okay, so that is an intermediate. Here Ocelot and this Azure API management are very popular. These tools basically manage the routing, authentication and throttling in your APIs. Okay. Next, go for some advanced security techniques. Here OAuth and OpenID Connect and throttling concepts are you can learn for advancement. Okay, so these are essentials for protecting your API from misuse and ensuring it scales well. I know each one of this topic is like a very big task, but my recommendation is first focus on microservices because that is also important from interview point of view. and then you can choose based on your interest or project. Okay, all right, so that is the whole roadmap for the web API, and that's it, my friend. Now you have to start walking on this roadmap, but before starting, set a proper goal. Set a goal like, I will learn web API and then I will get a good job, because learning is not enough, earning is also very important. And I have this course here. If you want to use this course to crack the interview, here I have covered the top 500 .NET interview questions from all the .NET topics. So the link is present in the description. Just check out description and explore this course. Finally, all the best from my side for your career and interviews.